How Ozempic changed food forever. Before I get into this video, I need to bring a couple of things to your attention when it comes to Ozempic. So this is not something to be used to lose weight quickly. There's a lot of side effects people don't talk about. And I'll make sure to provide you the links to how I got this information here so that you can go check it out for yourself. Ozempic is supposed to be medicine for type 2 diabetes people that are looking to have their blood sugars in a good range, have it controlled, basically. So if you're not in that category and if it's not prescribed by a doctor, you shouldn't be using it, first and foremost. So the FDA has scare warnings about thyroid tumors when it comes to using Ozempic. So there's been testing in animals. So semaglutide, or semaglutide I should say, causes thyroid tumors, including a type of cancer called medullary. So thyroid carcinoma. We don't know yet if this happens in humans, but if you or your family member has ever had this cancer, doctors say do not use Ozempic. So I'll make sure to provide you this link in the description. So if you go in the description, you'll be in there. So there's other things to keep in mind. So serious health risks: stomach paralysis, vision loss, right? Pancreas inflammation, kidney damage, gallstones, surgery risks. There's also other side effects such as vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, bloating, gas, heartburns, fatigue. And one of the main ones to watch out for and to be mindful of is bone loss. Because when you're losing weight so quickly, your bones don't have enough time to sort of adjust to the pressure that is applied by how much weight you have. So as a result, I'll just make sure to read this so it makes more sense. So less weight equals less pressure on the bones. Your bones stay strong because they're constantly under pressure from your body weight. When you lose weight quickly, that pressure disappears. Your body basically thinks we don't need bones this strong anymore, and so your bones start to thin out. All right, especially as you're getting older, you take Ozempic, you lose weight quickly, you can see how this can be extremely bad. And unfortunately, your bones thinning out is not the only thing. So you're also losing muscle, right? When you lose muscle, your metabolism gets worse, therefore it's harder to keep off body fat. So here it says muscle loss makes it worse. Up to 40% of the weight loss on Ozempic can be muscle, not fat. Muscles pulling on bones during movement is what keeps your skeleton strong. Less muscle means weaker bones and worse balance, which means a higher risk of falling and breaking something. And less muscle also means a lower metabolism, a lower metabolic rate. All right, eating less equals fewer nutrients for the bones, which makes sense. If you are barely eating, you are probably not getting enough calcium, vitamin D, or protein. All things your bones need to survive and rebuild themselves. So I'll just make sure to have this in the description so that you go and find this information and know for yourself. So this is first and foremost before we react to that video. All to say that if you're not type 2 diabetes, I would advise against Ozempic, point blank period. Anyways, let's get into it.
Cool edit by the old Zaxter. A national chain looked at the rise in Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, and said, cool, let's redesign our menu. And guess what? They're not alone. McDonald's announced they're testing new menu items to appeal to users of GLP-1 products. Factor the meal delivery kit service now has GLP-1 specific plans. Nestle launched an entire frozen meal line built around supporting people on the drugs. And Walmart, the largest grocery retailer in the country, literally reported to investors that GLP-1 users were buying measurably less food in their stores. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because we are entering the Ozempic economy, a time where brands are shifting their marketing, menus, and even business models, not because they care, but because they have to. Roughly 1 in 8 adults are currently using GLP-1 drugs for weight loss.
Which is crazy, man. Which is crazy. And the very thing causing people to be closer to diabetes is these fast food places. And now they want to team up. Craziness. It's all about this, folks. It's all about this. Keep that in mind. They don't care about your health. They care about this. So before putting these things in your body, just make sure you know that. They don't care about you. They care about making money. You have to care about you.
That is millions of Americans eating less food. And here's the thing, a huge part of the food industry is built on volume. More snacking, bigger portion sizes, buy 3 bags of chips, get 2 free. GLP-1 drugs mess with all of that, and it is causing brands to panic and adapt. The adapting part sounds good in theory, right? We can all agree if big food wants to make their products healthier, that is generally a good thing. But are they
They're not making the product healthier. They're not
actually doing that, or just slapping a fancy logo on a box of cereal and calling it a day? Well, that's one of the many things we're digging into today. We're going to follow the money, expose the marketing, and figure out who in this space is actually trying and who's just hoping you don't flip the box around. All that plus Oprah, a few lawsuits.
Wow, that's a deep statement right there. They're hoping people don't flip the box around, meaning you need to flip the boxes and read the ingredients on what you're eating. Honestly, foods should not have more than 5 ingredients. Why do they have 100 ingredients in there? You need to question that. People will say I'm no fun for saying that, but this is something you need to consider. Seriously, strongly.
And something even called fiber maxing. Let's get into it. The year was 1984. Apple launched the first Macintosh computer, Ronald Reagan won his second term, and scientists discovered a hormone in the human gut called GLP-1. GLP-1 lowers blood sugar and essentially tells your brain you're full. Cool discovery in 1984, but there was a problem. In your body, it breaks down in just about 2 minutes. Too fast to actually be useful in medicine. Then, in 1992...
Thank you. Medicine. Keep that word in your head, medicine.
An endocrinologist named John Hang was studying Gila monster venom. Yes, venom from the Gila monster, which, as we all know, is the only venomous lizard in North America. Obviously. But anyways, John found something wild. The lizard produced a hormone almost identical to human GLP-1, except it stuck around for hours. It was a massive discovery. Scientists took that, recreated it in a lab, and eventually built a twice-daily injection. Years later, Novo Nordisk then redefined it into a once-weekly shot, and by 2017, the FDA approved it under the name Ozempic. When Ozempic came out, it was not a weight loss drug. It was approved specifically to treat type 2 diabetes.
Thank you. We already mentioned that at the start of the video.
But as more people started using it, patients were losing significant amounts of weight as a side effect. And so doctors started prescribing it off-label. Off-label means using an FDA-approved medication for a purpose the FDA hasn't specifically approved it for. It's not illegal, doctors actually do it all the time, but because insurance companies only cover approved use, getting something like Ozempic for weight loss meant paying out of pocket, which is why the real
I didn't know this part.
Gates opened in 2021 when the FDA approved Wegovy. This was essentially the same medication but at a higher dose, specifically designed and marketed for chronic weight management. This was the green light the world was waiting for, and it turned a medical discovery into a cultural phenomenon overnight. For a while, it felt like every celebrity on the red carpet had suddenly undergone a transformation, but nobody wanted to say the word Ozempic yet. It was the industry's worst kept secret. Chelsea Handler admitted she was on it without even realizing what it was, because apparently her doctor just handed it to her like it was a vitamin. Amy Schumer was one of the few people who actually called out the culture of secrecy, and then there was the Oprah situation. Yeah, that's right, Oprah situation. Nobody illustrates the absolute chaos of this transition better than Oprah Winfrey. For decades, Oprah was the face of the traditional weight loss industry, specifically through her massive partnership with Weight Watchers. She owned 10% of the company and sat on their board, basically acting as the high priestess of counting points. But in 2023, Weight Watchers bought a telehealth company called Sequence, so they could start prescribing these drugs themselves. Oprah stepped down from the board and donated her shares to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. It was basically a complete surrender of the old way of doing things. This whole thing was bizarre, but perfectly sets the stage for where we are today in the Ozempic economy story. We're watching massive brands go through a full-blown identity crisis because the world they spent decades building just doesn't exist anymore. The irony is that for some, this desperate pivot is actually backfiring. Weight Watchers tried to shed its skin and become a pharmaceutical middleman, and the market responded by sending their stock price off a cliff. But this is the reality. Brands have to account for cultural changes. GLP-1 is here. There's a rise of people losing weight and eating less. And of course, a boatload of daily grinders focusing on fitness and wellness. Speaking of the daily grind,
this is crazy, folks. I've been a personal trainer for many years, and I've trained people between the ages of 16 to about 65. And one thing I will say, it's not just about eating less, losing weight quickly. It's about adopting habits and forming a lifestyle, something that's sustainable. Is it sustainable to be taking injections, medications that is supposed to be for people with type 2 diabetes to lose weight quickly? Why is that even a thing? Why does nobody talk about the side effects? I hope he gets into the side effects of this video.
This video is sponsored by Trade Coffee. I don't know about you, but when spring comes around, I love switching things up. And the easiest upgrade to my morning routine I found is stepping up my coffee game using Trade. Trade is a specialty coffee company that matches you with coffee based on your taste preferences, how you brew at home, and what kind pour over, whatever, around the country. It's a really, here's enough roasted to order. So if you want to upgrade your coffee, Trade.com learn more about their bodies and what they consume because of this new health optimization era. I talked about this in detail in my last video. Wellness is 100% in. People are increasingly focusing on health for a multitude of reasons, and GLP-1 is the icing on the cake. Brands must adapt. The issue is how they're doing that and whether they're doing that at all. And that's nowhere more prevalent than with fast food brands. Let's play a little game. Imagine for a second you are the CEO of a fast food company. You are sitting in your big leather chair, staring at a spreadsheet that shows your customers are suddenly buying way less food because they're on a drug that makes them physically repulsed by grease. What do? Do you go with option A and spend billions of dollars to fundamentally overhaul your entire global supply chain so you can start selling actual nutrient-dense, healthy food? Or do you go with option B and just rebrand your old products to appear healthy so you can keep those profit margins nice and fat? Well,
that's the one. That's the one right there. Appear healthy and keep your profit margins. There you go. You said it.
If the answer A, you'd be classified as a terrible CEO and probably be fired. In the Ozempic economy, survival is rarely about making a better product. It is often about being better at marketing. And one of the easiest things to market in this economy is protein. Protein signals discipline, fitness, optimization, and all the stuff modern health culture loves. But what you might not know is people on GLP-1s are constantly told to prioritize protein, partially because it helps with fullness, and partially because when you lose weight quickly, you also risk losing muscle. And food brands...
There you go. You lose muscle, your muscles thin out, and since you're not eating as much because the side effect of it is you're basically repulsed by food, you're not getting enough nutrients. You'll be nutrient deficient. I hope you get into that as well.
Figured that out fast. For years, dining at Mickey D's was considered unhealthy, but as of March 20th, eating their chicken strips is comparable to eating protein bars.
Really? Do you really believe that?
According to McDonald's Twitter. Now, don't get me wrong, 40 grams of protein and 460 calories is reasonable, especially because, it's just chicken. But 23 grams of fat with 1,400 milligrams of sodium is not. McDonald's really wants to sell this high-protein idea to you. So much
the owner, I kept seeing that commercial or that video on Instagram. It cuts out right before it swallows it. So my assessment is he doesn't actually eat it. Just marketing. I hope you know that as well.
So much so, they've partnered with influencers to showcase how much protein their products have. This influencer in particular has been incredibly forward about her GLP-1 use. And guess what? McDonald's saw that and then sponsored her to talk about their high protein options. And look, I want to be extra direct here. I'm not criticizing Stefania for being open about her diet or her weight loss journey. My issue is not with her. What I am criticizing is the fact that McDonald's saw a wellness creator with a GLP-1 audience and thought, perfect, let's use that to sell fast food.
I'm not the type to judge. But look who they promote in the health and fitness space, folks. Look who they promote. We need to really reassess. Really. You can lose weight without needing to go on Ozempic. You can gain muscle without going on steroids. You can make this a healthy lifestyle without making it a 24/7, 365 thing. Honestly. I have many students that lost between 10 to 30 pounds in 90 days without training every day. 4 days a week. That's it. But obviously you need to eat properly. You need to know what you're eating. You need to eat whole foods, home cooked meals, stuff like that. It's not a shortcut. But once you establish those habits and maintain them for many years, you do see great results. I cannot advertise shortcuts. I can't. This is what this is doing. But why can't people see that? Doesn't matter what you say.
Food. That is weird. When someone builds a platform around transforming their health through diet and exercise and then takes a McDonald's sponsorship, the irony is worth pointing out. Moreover, I think it's strange that wellness and fitness...
Hey, thank you.
Partnering with fast food brands, period. Because a lot of the people turning to wellness content for motivation have a complicated relationship with fast food. And while some people can work toward moderation, some can't. Research shows that people who regularly consume fast food have a 20 to 129% increased risk of obesity compared to non-consumers. That is not a small number. So yeah, this is all very weird.
All right, good.
Fair to point out. So while McDonald's doesn't have a dedicated GLP-1 menu, it's not a coincidence that their CEO said they were paying attention to GLP-1 users and then suddenly started marketing how much protein is in their food through influencers, tweets, and blog articles. And McDonald's is far from the only one doing this. Starbucks has done something similar when they launched their protein menu, putting a combo of whey protein and 2% milk into their coffee and matcha. And just like McDonald's, they partnered with a wave of influencers to sell you on these protein-packed products. When these launched, social media was flooded with photos and videos reviewing these protein lattes, and they all looked pretty gross. I can't help but wonder if Starbucks wanted to start sponsoring people so that those videos would show up versus the other videos. But regardless, at least these lattes are healthy, right? Well, not really. If you order any of the regular non-sugar-free drinks, it's pretty crazy. One grande caramel protein latte clocks...
Jeez. One drink, 320 calories? 16 ounces or 60 fluid ounces. Almost 40 grams of carbohydrates. Holy! You are crashing in the middle of the afternoon if you have that in the morning. You are crashing big time. Goodness.
Clocks in at a whopping 37 grams of added sugar. And, you know, we all love the white stuff, but that is a lot of added sugar, especially for something that's being marketed as healthy. And then, of course, we have Subway, a brand that has spent the last decade trying to outrun its own complicated history with weight loss spokespeople. Okay.
Fun fact, I worked at Subway for 2 years back in the day, my university days.
Guess what? They're jumping headfirst into the Ozempic economy too. They recently launched something called protein pockets. If you spend any time on foodie TikTok, you probably have seen influencers holding these up like they're some kind of holy relic of protein and fitness. These creators talk about them as if Subway just discovered the concept of amino acids for the first time. While their protein pockets are not necessarily unhealthy, and they're certainly healthier than a lot of other fast
they
food
just changed the name. That looks like a foot-long ham, and the other one looked like a roast beef. They didn't even change the meats. They changed the name. Come on.
food items, the marketing is just marketing. For example, their regular rotisserie style chicken 6-inch sub actually has fewer calories, half the fat, and about the same amount of protein as their new Baja chicken.
Yeah. What is a 6-inch? 300 calories. Okay. 23 grams. 710 milligrams of sodium though. Jeez.
A chicken protein pocket. There really is no significant difference between ordering certain regular menu items and these new protein pockets.
Yeah.
And those are just a few light examples. Some brands are way more forward about what they're doing here and who they're trying to target. In December 2025, Shake Shack introduced its new Good Fit menu, and unlike Starbucks or Subway, they did not dance around it. In the company's own words, their menu is designed to include high protein, gluten-free, vegetarian, and yes, GLP-1 choices. But here's the funny part. The Good Fit menu is not really some revolutionary new line of food. They took their same burgers and chicken sandwiches and just swapped buns for lettuce wraps, highlighted the protein numbers, and repackaged the whole thing to sell to you. Now, to be fair, some of these swaps probably are better for certain people. Cutting carbs, shrinking portions, and making it easier to find higher protein options is not inherently a bad thing, but it is not exactly innovation. Smoothie King is probably the best example of all of this. In October 2024, the company launched an actual GLP support menu. They called themselves the first national quick service chain to introduce a menu specifically created to assist millions of Americans taking prescription GLP-1 drugs. The smoothies were marketed around the exact language you would expect. High protein, rich in fiber, nutrient dense, all the buzzwords, all the hits. That sounds amazing.
For some reason, I was thinking in my head, GLP will be in the actual food. I didn't think it would just be advertised to the people that are on this medication. Anyways, but besides the point, let's get back into it.
Amazing. Let's take a look at these special GLP-1 smoothies and compare them to their counterparts. Here we have the Gladiator GLP-1 Vanilla Smoothie, and here we have the regular Gladiator Vanilla Smoothie. Oh, sorry, something isn't working here. Let's try it again. I said, here is the GLP-1 version, and here is the regular. Oh my god, they're the same thing. Well, surely this can't be. Well, what about the Keto Champ GLP-1 chocolate versus the regular Keto Champ chocolate? Oh my god, it's the same thing again. Smoothie King, what are you doing? Most of the GLP-1 smoothies are no different than the regular smoothies on the menu. There are no secret ingredients hidden in the blender. The recipe and the base are the same. When I looked this up, other people complained about this, and the only apparent difference I could find for these smoothies is that the normal versions lets you add things like peanut butter or bananas, while the GLP-1 versions guide you towards other options. But when you go to order these smoothies on their website, they're presented exactly the same. You could do that for...
Wow. It's really just marketing, and it's freaking a bunch of people.
for either smoothie. So it's essentially the exact same product, but with different marketing. So do you notice the pattern here? The GLP-friendly fast food revolution is, in many cases, not about brands suddenly caring about your health. It's just them advertising their products differently. Take away some buns, highlight the protein amount, add some fiber, and suddenly your old product gets to cosplay as part of a medical lifestyle plan. What a hilarious and annoying world we live in. But most fast food brands usually don't care about our health or wellness. But what about household food items? Well, if you think the drive-thru is getting weird, you should see what is happening in grocery store aisles. A recent Cornell University study found that within the first 6 months of starting a GLP-1 medication, households reduced their grocery spending by an average of 5.3%. Among higher...
I have a rule when it comes to grocery shopping, especially for people looking to increase their health. I'll say it like that. So if you're shopping in the grocery store, have a time limit, never shop hungry, because when you shop hungry, you are going to buy more food. Shop on the outside aisles. That's normally when you have like your meats or your more natural foods. Because in the middle aisles, that's where the cereals, the cookies, junk foods, and so on are. And shop with a small cart. You save money, you're in and out faster because you timed yourself. You didn't shop when you're hungry, so you're likely to spend less. And you shopped on the outsides, which means that you most likely got the better quality foods. That's just a couple of things to consider when you grocery shop. Anyways, back to the video.
Higher income households, the drop was even steeper, at more than 8%. And the biggest casualties? Savory snacks, sweets, cookies, and baked goods, down nearly 10%. So just like fast food, these brands are taking a hit. And what exactly are they doing? Well, shoving protein down our throats. There's protein pasta, protein chips, protein Snickers bars, protein cereal, protein pancakes, and even protein infused
protein Snicker bars. Goodness, do you believe that?
Water. But I really want to highlight this one specific example just because of how ridiculous it is. Kellanova, the company you probably know better as Kellogg's, the snack giant behind Pringles, Cheez-Its, and Pop-Tarts, makes exactly the kind of ultra-processed snacks health-conscious consumers are cutting first. So what was their answer to the GLP-1 era? Protein Pop-Tarts, available in flavors like Slammin Strawberry and Boost in Brown Sugar Cinnamon, which are real product names that an adult signed off on. They're marketing these as a bold innovation for people looking for a protein boost on the go. I mean, look at how large the word protein is labeled on the box. Surely this must be a healthy snack. Well, the actual math here is incredible. A serving of these new protein-boosted Pop-Tarts, which is 2 pastries, comes out to 380 calories, only 10 grams of protein, and 30 grams of sugar.
10 grams of protein. That is not a protein. Okay. If okay, the sugar is higher than the protein. Common sense says this is not a protein food. This is not a protein source. Folks, please read the labels. Please read the labels. That'll save you a lot of trouble and a lot of money as well.
This is an extremely high amount of sugar, but per calorie, that's an awfully low amount of protein.
Yeah.
For reference, a 100-gram chicken breast contains 165 calories and 31 grams of protein.
Yeah.
Meaning you need to consume over 1,100 calories or 6 whole Pop-Tarts to get the same amount of protein as 100 grams of chicken breast. What a joke! But what I think is really funny about all of this is just how out of touch it feels. Because nutritious, protein-dense pastries do actually exist. There are numerous brands that sell them, and Pop-Tart could easily compete with them if they tried, but they didn't. They took the regular version, which is heavily marketed towards children, and just added a splash of protein. So I think it's safe to say protein Pop-Tarts were not made for health-focused adults, but they were not really made for kids either, because kids eating Pop-Tarts do not care about protein, and parents who actually monitor their kids' diet are probably not buying Pop-Tarts in the first place.
Exactly.
So really, who exactly is this for? What's crazy about this bizarre protein advertising strategy is that the FDA does not regulate how brands use the word protein in their marketing. Any brand can do it, and the exact same thing is true for GLP-1 Friendly. There is no...
Yeah, this is facts. I'll link this video in the description as well so you can check out the rest of the video. I just wanted to do this reaction to bring your awareness to Ozempic, GLP, the alternate name that they called it to avoid calling it Ozempic, just to be mindful of what it is, to be mindful that you don't need it to lose weight. There's natural means and natural ways. Less consequences later on. Like, he didn't really dive into it too much, but I encourage you to also click the links of the resources that I have in my description to find the information I found about Ozempic, to make your own judgments from there. But that's it for my video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos. May God bless you, and I'll see you next video.
Metro Boomin, want some more, nigga.